You know, you look at that precious little face and the innocence there, and you just pray and hope that this little baby's going to grow up and get a chance to experience the best of everything that life has to offer.
You know, had a great childhood growing up. Loved to be outside. Parents made us be outside, but we enjoyed it.
You know, you could tell early on she was a strong-willed, determined little girl. She wasn't afraid of anything.
I was sassy. It's probably the best word to use. Strong-willed and active.
You know, I'm this happy-go-lucky parent, and I'm just assuming we're always going to have this great relationship. And then, I don't know, something happens in middle school. She was able to hit hot buttons I didn't even know I had.
I definitely challenged my parents. You know, I questioned things. I pushed boundaries.
Probably you start to realize as they get older, they're not always telling you the truth about where they are, what they're doing. For the most part, we liked her friends, but if I'm honest, I really didn't do my part to get to know her friends on a deeper level.
Regardless of what my parents said, what my mom and dad said, and the boundaries and the limitations they put in place, I pushed those. And I knew that I was pushing those. I was testing the limits, and I wanted to see, you know, how far I could push them.
And I grew up in a house where there was a lot of yelling. I didn't want to go there. But when you're raising a teen, they know how to hit those hot buttons, it's really hard to control those emotions and how they're expressed.
Man, I think it put a lot of strain, a lot of tension, a lot of stress and pressure on my parents.
You know, when we were going through our turmoil, which really became a little more intense in high school, what was stressful is it affects your marriage because you're trying not to discuss things in front of the other children, but it's happening and you've got to react to it at the time. And I worried a lot about what the younger siblings were picking up.
You know, it got to a point where they tried to put boundaries in place, you know, curfews, and I didn't have the same curfew as my brother. I didn't understand why. And my dad was just very stern and direct with me that you'll be in at this hour and that's it. And if you don't like it, you know, you live under this roof. Those are the rules that you will abide by. And so I would rebel from that. I didn't like being told what to do. And again, I thought I knew everything about everything, even though, you know, the rules were coming from well-seasoned, educated parents.
I was scared because Amanda was becoming a different person, and that frightened us more than anything. I felt like she was losing her identity as who she was as a family member. I felt like she was losing her identity on who she wanted to become and what her future was going to be, and literally couldn't sleep at night, not knowing what to do about it. Just thinking this is going down the wrong road. These are decisions and choices she's making that will affect her for the rest of her life, and we're losing our girl, you know? It's really hard.
I don't know that I was capable of seeing the other side of it at that when I was in it like that. Thought I knew everything and I was invincible. Well, it wouldn't happen to me. Not me. I definitely pushed the limits and rebelled, but I also got to a point where I just didn't care. And that's unfortunate.
Things kept building. We kept trying to change things and to get our girl back, and she was very resistant. And the reality finally came. My husband and I talked and said, if these are the choices she's going to make, there's a line in the sand, and she's reached it. We've tried everything we can. She's not setting good examples for the younger kids. This is our home, and if she wants to be a part of it and who we are, then she's got to live under a few of our roles. And we decided that it was time for her to make a serious choice, for her to understand where she stood with the line, that the line wasn't going to keep moving.
It caught me off guard. I came home and wasn't expecting either of my parents to be there, and my mom was standing in the kitchen waiting for me.
So the moment of truth came when I had to sit down with her, and I had to tell her, Amanda, you've got to choose. We were getting ready to go away as a family on the weekend, and it was a matter of you're either going to get in the car and be a part of our family, or you're going to make the choice that you don't want to be a part of this family anymore, or the way we live. And sitting there having that conversation with her, I didn't know what she would pick. I honestly had no idea. My heart was pounding. I was sick to my stomach. It was the hardest conversation we ever had.
Essentially, it was either you live your life how you're wanting to live it and you do it outside this home. So you can get your stuff and go, or you can listen to what your dad and I have to say and know and trust that we have your best interest in mind.
I think she was shocked. Again, I'm kind of the happy, easy-go-lucky mom. I don't usually have intense conversations. I probably should have long time earlier. And so I think she was surprised, first of all, that I was the one that was having this conversation with her. I think she was probably surprised to see how serious I was, that I wasn't fooling around, and that she was given an ultimatum.
Oh, it was a swirling bout of emotions. I think initially I thought, okay, well, you're going to push me here, then I'm going to leave. But then it quickly came about that, no, not super quick, but it took me a couple minutes to kind of digest it was a very intense situation. And so I wanted to be reactive. And so I, in my mind, thought, go get your bags and leave. And about as soon as I thought that, I realized, where the heck are you going to go? Well, you don't have 2 nickels to rub together. You don't have food. I didn't own anything. I mean, my parents owned it all. And they did a great job of making sure we knew that. And so that's all I knew that I had was them.
Thankfully, she got in the car. Took her a little while to decide. We were loading up. She was sitting there thinking about what had been said to her. Again, my heart was pounding, and she walked out and got in the car. It doesn't mean things were great after that, but she made a choice, and it gave us the opportunity to continue being parents for her.
She said some things to me that I never thought I would hear. And I pushed her to a point where, I'm sorry it ever got to that point. I'm thankful that conversation happened. I'm grateful that she had the willpower to educate herself and to stand up against me, essentially. Because if she hadn't and my dad hadn't, no one else was going to do that. That was their role. And all they were trying to do was love and protect me. And I know that now.
I feel like that one super difficult conversation opened the door to future conversations. And I'll never forget, I think it was shortly thereafter, she was working for her dad. She was in an empty house that we were showing, so I knew she was by herself. And I thought, I really need to talk to her while we're both calm and we're not in the middle of an issue. So I went over, we sat down on the floor together, again, a face-to-face, eyeball-to-eyeball conversation. And I started to tell her about myself and mistakes I had made and choices that I had made that I was not proud of. And that was the moment I could see a complete barrier break down and honesty finally begin between us. And I think that she had a perception of me as a mom that wasn't accurate, but I probably tried to portray that. And finally, I got honest. She was old enough to accept and hear the mistakes I had made. I probably should have had the conversation sooner, but I felt like in our relationship, I'll always look back at that and be so thankful that we had that opportunity to just have a mother to daughter, heart to heart, honest conversation.
I gained a lot more respect for my parents after that. It was interesting that something that pushed me to the edge and probably pushed them over the edge to have to get to that point made me ultimately want to work to earn their respect back. And so I wanted to do things. I wanted to be the daughter they wanted me to be, because I realized they wanted me to be the best version of myself, and that's all they were ever trying to do.
I would have never predicted this. All I ever wished was that she would have a happy life, a happy marriage, have children someday. She actually not only has a wonderful husband, 2 beautiful children, but she now works at Operation Parent. And I get to be with her every day. I get to watch her learn the joy of parenting. We laugh, we talk about the past, how we've both grown, and I couldn't have written this ending if I tried. I would have never predicted it.
Today, things are full circle. So I now am blessed to be able to work with an organization called Operation Parent. I now get to be a part of that organization. And it's so cool to be able to not only work side by side with my mom in that, but you have now a grandmother and now myself as a mom. And so the dynamic of her seeing the full journey into grandparenting and me as a young mom, it's the neatest thing to be a part of.
I've never been more proud of Amanda in my life. I always loved her. Even when she was making choices I wasn't crazy about, I knew she had this potential to change the world. I believe she's going to do it now. I really do. She's got a beautiful family. She's lived through the same struggles and seen how important it is to persevere, to figure out your identity, to stick with it, to grow, mature, and then bring life into the world. It's the greatest privilege in the world.
What would you say to your mom now?
Thank you. I love you. It's been a wild ride. Thanks for sticking with me. And thanks for not giving up on me. If you hadn't said those things and made me make that decision, then I don't know where I would be. And I'm so glad I'm here and I get to share this rest of this life with you.